Hi, Mets fans. It's another episode of the True Mets Talk podcast. It is December 6th, and I'm going to be 2 for 2 on the True Mets Talk podcast with these videos today. Make sure you go check out my previous video dropped this morning on the Michael Tonkin and Jose Iglesias signings, giving a little bit more in-depth about those guys and how they fit into the Mets 2024 scheme. But today, this video right here is going to be a think piece about this offseason so far and where the Mets go from here, given what they currently have invested in this team, and giving my personal think point on where Steve Cohen, David Stearns go and take this team into the future, whether it's 2024 or 2025. This is an opinionative piece. There's a lot of discourse on my Twitter timeline about the Mets' future and where this front office is taking this team. So I figured I'd give all of my thoughts about that here. But like I said, I want to hear what you all have to think as well. I want this platform to be a discussion kind of thread. Hit the comments down below. Let me know what you think about this team and the way they're approaching this offseason. Hit that thumbs up, support the True Mets Talk podcast, and subscribe to the channel bottom right-hand corner. If you're not subscribed already, there's going to be a lot more content coming out. It's going to be a busy offseason, especially in the month of December, so you don't want to miss out on all the Mets talk, as well as follow me on X and Instagram for all your latest podcast updates. All of my handles are at CPNYSports. Without further ado, let's get into this New York Mets discussion. All right, so let's get into it. Clearly, off the top of the bat, you see what I have as a breakdown for the New York Mets right now. Does this graphic tell you the whole picture? No, but my overall thought and opinion on what we've seen so far this offseason and where the Mets strategy lies is going to be surrounding these Mets incoming prospects, as well as the Mets core investments that you see on this screen and their respective years left with the New York Mets, given their contracts. Obviously, there's been a lot of Juan Soto discussions as I'm making this right now, as I speak into this microphone. The New York Yankees are close, quote unquote, to acquiring Juan Soto in a blockbuster deal. According to many beat reporters, this deal is getting very close. And Juan Soto has been a guy that I dropped a video on as well, have given my thoughts and opinions countless times on our Interstate Mets Report streams. And you all, if you know me by now, know my thoughts and opinions on Juan Soto. And if you don't, make sure you follow me on X because I've been talking about him all morning as well. It's an exhaustive topic and I get it, but I do need to get my thoughts and off my chest in terms of the Juan Soto situation. So it looks like he's going to be going to the Yankees more likely than not. But let's talk about what we have here in terms of the Mets approach moving forward. A lot of people speculating whether David Stearns and Steve Cohen are actually serious about the year 2024, or if that early report from Max Scherzer that the beat reporters got their hands on is indeed true, where he said that they are not willing or not prioritizing 2024 in terms of being contenders. They're looking at it for the long haul perspective. Now, the thing about that philosophy, and if you know me, if you've been listening to these podcast episodes, you know that I believe the Mets, it's not in the Mets' best interest, not only from an actual team perspective, but also from a PR perspective, if they care about that, which I'm sure they listen in on Twitter and all these beat reporters, articles, etc. Like these guys from the top definitely do listen to that. I firmly believe that. But regardless, in terms of the actual Mets roster construction, my point here is that the New York Mets at this juncture cannot afford to lose out on some of the pieces that are available in this 2024 offseason. It just simply can't happen. I've been preaching that it's still early into these winter meetings. It's still early into the month of December. And we have an entire offseason to talk about Mets baseball and to sort of get our hands, quote unquote, on these top free agents. Now, you look at the Mets' core investments. They've already invested in a core of players, and Pete Alonso, presumably, we would hope, is next in line to get that extension. They have long-term deals already out there for Brandon Nimmo and Francisco Lindor to make up that core. Pete Alonso, presumably, We would hope that he's not walking or getting traded. David Stearns recently doubling down on reports saying Pete Alonso is going to be in a Mets uniform come opening day and that he fully expects that. And he has doubled down and tripled down on this. So presumably, with Pete Alonso getting an extension this offseason, hopefully, and remaining a Met for the long haul, and Edwin Diaz here, 5 years left on his deal. He does have a player opt out after the second year, I believe, and a team opt out after that fourth year. But if all those opt outs are not exercised, and he remains a Met through those opt outs, it is a total of 5 more years of Edwin Diaz. So the Mets already have money in the books and on the books for 2024. I told you all at the beginning of this offseason, before there was any moves made in free agency or waiver claims, that the Mets' payroll was sitting at around $240 million, which is basically right there at the luxury tax threshold for 2024. Punting on a team in 2024 that already has that kind of cap allocation does not make sense when you have the richest owner in baseball. That's why I firmly believe we will see free agents, the top free agents being signed with the New York Mets. And we are already seeing this. A report just came out not 30 minutes ago that Steve Cohen flew to Japan, halfway across the world, to do his due diligence and meet with Yoshinobu Yamamoto and his camp. He took the liberty to fly out there to meet with Yamamoto and his camp. That is huge, and that is something you do not see MLB owners doing often. So give Steve Cohen his credit. He is actively working the market, not only waiting for David Stearns to do so, but he is taking that liberty upon himself to go ahead and do that. Obviously, Yoshinobu Yamamoto is going to listen to all the offers that teams have for him on the table. He's going to meet with the Yankees at Yankee Stadium on Monday. That is also confirmed by Andy Martino, but the Mets are on the case. Do not worry, they are not sleeping. So, like I said, you have these prospects incoming down below on your screen. You have Luis Angel Acuna coming up, Jet Williams coming up, Drew Gilbert coming up. Presumably, these guys are going to be ready in 2025, maybe midway through 2025 at the latest. Then you have Kevin Parada, Blade Tidwell, Ryan Clifford, who they all could possibly be ready by 2025, but it's looking more like 2026. Maybe even into 2027 for these guys, depending on where the roster shakes out. So, like I said, these prospects is not an exhaustive list. There's still more prospects to be said on here. You have Colin Houck, who just recently got drafted this past draft by the New York Mets, is a top 7 prospect for them. You have Alex Ramirez, outfielder number 11 prospect, coming up for the Mets. You have Christian Scott, highly regarded pitching prospect for the New York Mets. The Mets have prospects coming up. And with the likes of Ronnie Mauricio, with the likes of Brett Baty, Francisco Alvarez, Mark Vientos already on the squad, this roster is crowded. This is why I do not believe the New York Mets are waiting for 2025, because the way this roster is currently shaking out, there are going to be trades that happen, whether it's in season at the trade deadline or whether it's this offseason later on into this offseason when the trade market kind of works itself out and sets itself up. This is too crowded of a roster with your core players already and with the prospects coming in. There's just simply not enough space on this major league roster for all these players. That's what I don't think. I think people don't understand that sometimes. Not only do they not understand that the Mets' depth pieces that they've signed already in Austin Adams, Kyle Crick, your Andre Scrubs, your Jose Iglesias, your Michael Tonkins, like those guys are obviously depth pieces, and it's still early on to the MLB free agency front, but there's a lot of moves to be had here. They're on Yamamoto. If they don't get Yamamoto, say in the worst case scenario, they pivot. Maybe you could see a guy like Erod, like Seth Lugo on the market. I don't want to say his name, but Lucas Giolito. Maybe they can pivot to short-term deals. There are free agents to be had, and the fact of the matter is the point that I want to stress here is that the Mets cannot afford to wait till 2025. I've had these debates before with people, friendly debates, whether or not this 2025 free agent class is as strong, if not stronger than the 2024 class. I've said it on here that whatever is available in terms of bats or pitching, mostly the bats in the 2025 free agent class, do not really fit the scheme of the New York Mets and their positional needs. So waiting to address the bats in 2025 certainly isn't something I'd be comfortable with. Maybe Alex Bregman's going to be on that market if the Astros don't come to terms with him on a long-term deal, but the whole Juan Soto and waiting till 2025 free agency for Juan Soto, there's no guarantees he's going to be on that market. The best hitter on the market outside of a Juan Soto or Alex Bregman, if he potentially gets there, or if those gentlemen do not get extensions and don't hit and hit free agency, is maybe an Altuve or a Santander. Outside of those guys, you're looking at slim pickings. So I really do think it's in the Mets' best interest to get a bat or two this offseason. Now, like I said, whether it's a short-term deal or more of a 3-4 year deal remains to be seen. I am completely comfortable giving an offensive upgrade a 1 or 2 year deal given the current market and these prospects coming up. I'm completely comfortable doing that because if the Mets are not going to trade for Juan Soto and they're not going to pursue that extension right now, then you have to leave positions open. We talked about a guy like Young-Hoo Lee, who probably will get a 4 or 5 year deal, but automatically slots in as your future left fielder in the MLB on this MLB roster for the New York Mets. So there's a lot of moves to be had, a lot of pitching news coming out. Corbin Burnes, there's a lot of speculation whether Corbin Burnes is going to be on the market or not. He's going to be a free agent in 2025 as well. It seems like the initial reports are that the Mets are not willing to give up their top prospects for rentals with guys that have 1 year deals left on their contract. But stranger things have happened because I do believe that the Mets, if they do go after a guy that has 1 year left on his deal, they can come to an agreement on an extension before he hits free agency. Now, I know Scott Boras has his hands on a lot of these guys like Juan Soto, like Corbin Burnes. I completely understand that negotiating with a Scott Boras is different than a lot of other agents around the league. I firmly understand that. But when you look, like I said, at the end of the day, when you look at the New York Mets' roster cap allocations, wasting away years of the 7 years you have left on Brandon Nimmo, of the 8 years you have left on Francisco Lindor, on the 5 years you have left on your star closer, the highest paid closer in MLB baseball, you are running the risk of letting this core slip away. Now, if Pete Alonso doesn't sign this extension, and if he's gone by some miracle, because I'm not expecting or forecasting that to happen, if Pete Alonso is not part of the future equation, maybe I might start singing a little bit of a different tune as a fan in terms of realizing that maybe this front office is in this sort of scenario and headspace that maybe we're going to go for it in the long haul rather than the short term, maybe. But if Pete Alonso signs that extension, whenever that may be, and he inks that 7, 8, 9 year deal with the Mets, you cannot waste that core and their services with these years they have left. You just can't do it. And running the risk of having these prospects not pan out and waiting for them to contribute on a routinely basis to help this core that you've already signed for the long term in terms of helping you get to a MLB World Series and in hopes of winning it, you're running a very big risk of then closing that window. And like I said, by no stretch of the imagination are the Mets 1 or 2 pieces away. This is a roster that needs work. And even if the Mets were in after Juan Soto, in this trade market right now, like we see the Yankees are, that wouldn't put them over the top to be a World Series contender. The Yankees aren't even a World Series contender in my mind with a Juan Soto. It helps them and accelerates them, but these teams, these New York teams, both of them are not World Series contenders with only Juan Soto as the addition. So, like I said, I just wanted to give my thoughts and opinions of the think piece here because I see a lot of discourse happening on Twitter. I see both sides of the fan base. I see two sides of the fence with this fan base. A lot of people are angry and they're upset. And like I said, if this Juan Soto deal does go through with the Yankees, Mets fans have the ability to be upset. And I will be upset and disappointed as well. Regardless of where you stand on waiting for 2025 with Juan Soto, this is a guy who we've wanted in Queens for quite some time when we figured out that the Nationals were going to be trading him and putting him on the trade block. This has been a long time coming. And my worry is that Brian Cashman is not going to let Juan Soto hit free agency in 2025. But that remains to be seen. That's too far away for us to speculate. We understand the Boris reports. I understand all that. That's just my primary concern. But like I said, in terms of the other markets, the other pieces that are available in this market, the Mets are in on Yoshinobu Yamamoto. They're in on some of these bats. So you see that they're interested in Young Hoo Lee. I understand it's been quiet so far, but I think that we need a little bit of patience. I'm just trying to provide a greater context and a greater, I guess, insight as to how I think personally this Mets offseason is going to go and whether or not you can afford to wait till 2025 to start building around your core. Like I said, I don't foresee it happening. If there's a top free agent on the market, the Mets are going to be interested. Brian Cashman said in a quote himself, it's going to be very hard to compete with Steve Cohen for the likes of Yamamoto if Steve Cohen truly wants Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And by the sounds of it sounds like he does, because you don't travel across the world to Japan to do your due diligence and meet with Yoshinobu Yamamoto and his camp if you're not interested in signing him to a mega deal. So, like I said, let me know in the comments what you think. You see these Mets core investments with Pete Alonso extension looming. You see these prospects coming up. It's going to be a very nice little mix of veteran talent and young talent coming up. And you still have the guys, Francisco Alvarez, Ronnie Mauricio, Brett Baty as a part of this team. It's still TBD on Ronnie Mauricio and where Brett Baty stand in their future with the Mets. We'll see what happens. I wanted to provide my insight on how I'm thinking in my mind, what's going on in my mind in terms of this MLB offseason. I understand it's been quiet. The content has been sparse. I've been trying to provide my input where I can. We've been going live on the Interstate Mets report and the Mets Roundtable podcast. So if you haven't been checking out on that and you want to get greater insight as to what other Mets content creators are thinking, make sure you go check those out on my channel. A lot of good Mets discourse happening. I want that discourse to continue in the comment section down below. Make sure you let me know what you think in terms of this Mets offseason so far and where the Mets stack up in terms of moving forward and building this roster for 2024 and beyond. Let me know in the comment section. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up button. Most importantly, I definitely appreciate the thumbs up. Always paying attention on who's liking these videos. And like I said, I appreciate all the support thus far. Thank you for finally getting me over 200 subscribers. Hopefully everyone keeps rocking with me. Hopefully everyone's interested in this content that I'm putting out. And if you have any thoughts and opinions on what you want me to talk about with the New York Mets as we are going through this slow period on the free agency front, please drop in the comments section or hit me up on Twitter, whatever you want to do, and give me some ideas. Because like I said, all my ideas are flowing, but I want to hear, ultimately, I do this for my viewers and the subscribers. I want to hear what you all have to think. So let me know in the comments section down below. Follow me on X, on Instagram, and my YouTube handles are all at CPNYSPORTS. You all know where to find me. Until next time, until we get some more Mets news, see you all later. I hope this video was insightful for any Mets fan kind of on the fence whether we're going to be punting 2024 or not. I hope this provides you some greater insight as to how I'm thinking this offseason is going to go, because like I said, the Mets in my mind cannot afford to wait for 2025 and beyond with the current investments on this team. I'll keep stressing it, and I will not believe that's the case until I see it. Until I see these free agents, all these top free agents sign elsewhere, I firmly believe the Mets are doing their due diligence and are after everybody that makes this roster and will make this roster competitive. So thank you for rocking with me. It's been CP, another episode of the True Mets Talk podcast. Until next time, I am out. Let's go Mets, as always. Thank you for watching the latest episode of the CP New York Sports Pod. If you enjoyed this content, make sure you hit that thumbs up, comment your thoughts and opinions, and use the lower right-hand button of this video to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.